Hey guys, welcome to Mild Moment History, where history whispers. Tonight, we're not walking in the boots of a soldier, and we're not debating politics in a general's tent. We're not looking at maps filled with arrows and strategies. We're stepping into the quiet, personal chaos of the person who was meant to be invisible, the one holding the camera. We're exploring the life of a war correspondent in Vietnam, the real kind. Not the heroic, trench-coated journalist you've seen in movies. The one who dramatically dictates a story into a phone as bombs explode harmlessly in the background. No, we're talking about the kind with sweat-stained shirts, a notepad smudged with rain, and camera film that felt heavier than lead in the suffocating jungle heat. The kind who learned that the most dangerous place in Vietnam wasn't always a firefight, but sometimes a crowded rooftop bar in Saigon where the truth was bought and sold like cheap whiskey, and a friendly smile could hide a knife. You might think the war correspondent's job was all about courage, about chasing the action, about the thrill of capturing the perfect, world-changing shot. But tonight, you'll taste the other side, the part history books don't describe in detail. You'll feel the moral vertigo of watching and not intervening. You'll understand the quiet compromises made in the field, and the haunting reality that in a war, the first and most frequent casualty is always the truth. It gets bent, buried, and sometimes erased entirely by the people who hired you to find it. And trust me, by the end of this journey, you'll never look at a famous war photograph the same way again. You'll no longer see just the image. You'll see the person standing lost out of frame, the one who had to hold the camera steady, and you'll wonder what that single click of the shutter truly cost them. Before we begin, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from and what time it is there. Drop a comment. It's always amazing to see this little sleepy community stretch across the globe, and if you enjoy these quiet, strange dives into the past, consider liking or subscribing. It means more than you know. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft, steady hum. Let your body sink into the mattress. Close your eyes. You're not here for glory. You're not carrying a rifle for protection. You're just a witness, armed only with a camera and a notebook, and that's more dangerous in 1960s Vietnam than you could ever imagine. Let's begin. Section 1. The Arrival, a different kind of heat. The airplane door opens, and the air that rushes in just air. It's a physical thing. A heavy, wet blanket of heat that clings to your skin, your clothes, your lungs. It smells of jet fuel, damp earth, and something else, something sweet and vaguely floral, already decaying in the oppressive humidity. You step out onto the metal stairs, and the sun over Saigon is white and blinding. It doesn't warm you. It presses down on you. This is the first thing you learn about Vietnam. The heat isn't just weather. It's a presence. It has weight. You're guided across the tarmac of Tan Son Nut Air Base, a place that feels like a strange marriage of military order and tropical chaos. American soldiers in sweat-stained olive drab move with a purpose you don't yet understand, their boots kicking up red dust. The distant, rhythmic thump-thump-thump of a helicopter's rotor blades is the city's unofficial heartbeat, a sound you'll soon learn to associate with everything from hope to dread. It's a sound that will follow you into your sleep. The terminal is a whirlwind of noise and motion. Voices in Vietnamese, a language that sounds like music and arguments woven together, mixed with the flat, tired drawl of American G.I.S. and the clipped French of a few aging colonials who never left. You see conical hats bobbing through the crowd next to military-grade buzz cuts. A woman in a graceful, flowing Odi glides past a sandbag checkpoint. Everything is a contradiction. You find a ride into the city. It's not a taxi. It's a battered old car that smells of gasoline and ghosts. The driver doesn't speak your language, but he nods, takes your bag, and plunges into the traffic with a confidence you find both terrifying and admirable. And the traffic, it's not a system of lanes and rules. It's a living organism, a river of bicycles, sputtering motorbikes, three-wheeled cyclos, and heavy military trucks all flowing around each other in a dance of near misses and blaring horns. There are no traffic lights, only a shared understanding that the stop is to be swallowed whole. You look out the window, and Saigon unfolds before you. The architecture is a beautiful, crumbling memory of France. Faded yellow villas with shuttered windows and ornate iron balconies stand beside hastily built concrete structures. Street vendors are everywhere, crouched over small charcoal braziers, grilling pork, frying noodles, or chopping fruit you've never seen before. The air fills with new smells, layered one on top of the other. The salty, pungent aroma of NCCMDM, the sweet perfume of jasmine, the bitter scent of cheap cigarettes, and the ever-present diesel fumes. It's overwhelming, a full assault on your senses. You feel like you've been breathing through a dry textbook your whole life, and someone just threw you into a living library where you can't read a single page. And beneath it all, there is the war. You don't see it yet, not really, but you feel it? It's in the nervous energy of the crowds. It's in the way a sudden backfire from a motorbike makes a soldier flinch. It's in the coils of barbed wire that crown the walls of official buildings. The war isn't just in the jungles you read about, it's here, an invisible heat simmering just beneath the surface of this vibrant, chaotic city. You are an outsider, a spectator. Your camera feels both useless and incredibly heavy around your neck. What are you supposed to capture? The woman selling flowers, the child laughing in a doorway, the soldier with thousand-yard eyes staring blankly from the back of a truck. You finally arrive at your hotel, a grand old building from another era. The lobby is cooler, the air stirred by lazy ceiling fans that do little more than rearrange the humidity. You get to your room, drop your bags, and stand by the window. Below you, the city of Saigon breathes. It's a city of ghosts and survivors, of ancient traditions and imported wars, of breathtaking beauty and quiet, simmering tension. You came here to tell a story, to capture the truth. But, as you look out at the sea of faces and the endless river of motion, you realize you don't even know where to begin. You don't know the language, the rules, or the players. You just know that you are very, very far from home, and the heat, it's a different kind of heat here. It gets into your bones. Section 2. The rooftop bar at dawn. You can't sleep. The hotel room fan does nothing but push the warm, thick air around in circles. The sounds of the city below, a distant argument, the sputter of a motorbike, a dog barking at a ghost are too foreign to be comforting. You remember a piece of advice given to you by a seasoned photographer back in the States. If you want to understand the war, don't go to the front. Not at first, go to a rooftop bar. So you do. You take a creaking elevator to the top floor of the Caravel Hotel, a place that feels like an island of colonial calm in a sea of chaos. You step out onto the terrace, and the city opens up before you. A sprawling galaxy of flickering lights, yellow and white, stretching to a horizon you can't quite see. The air up here is just as humid, but it carries a different scent, expensive French perfume mingling with the smoke from American cigarettes and the sharp, clean smell of gin. This isn't a place for soldiers. This is a place for the people who tell their stories. You find a small table in the corner and order a gin and tonic. It arrives with a clink of real ice, a luxury that feels almost sinful after the heat of the day. You watch the other patrons. They are a tribe, and you are not yet a member. Seasoned correspondents with tired eyes and cynical smiles gather in small, tight circles. They speak in a kind of shorthand, a language of shared trauma and inside jokes. Names of remote villages and military operations are dropped casually between sips of cold beer. They laugh, but it's a brittle sound, like glass on the verge of cracking. You see off-duty officials in crisp white shirts, their faces impassive as they negotiate deals in hushed tones. There are spies, you're sure of it, men who watch the room without seeming to watch at all. And there are the beautiful Vietnamese women in their elegant odays, moving through the smoky haze with a grace that seems to defy the war, their presence both a comfort and a mystery. You don't talk to anyone. You just listen. You overhear fragments of conversation, a whispered rumor about a coming offensive, a cynical joke about the latest official press briefing, the 5 o'clock follies, they call it. A story about a photographer who got too close, whose luck finally ran out. This is where the real war is reported, not in the press releases, but here, over lukewarm drinks, under a sky that pretends to be peaceful. Every laugh is tinged with exhaustion. Every glance carries a question. What do you know, and what will it cost you? You nurse your drink, the condensation trickling down your fingers. You feel like a ghost, present but unseen, floating at the edge of this strange, exclusive club. These people have been here for years. They have seen things you can only imagine, things you are both terrified and desperate to witness for yourself. They have a hardness you don't yet possess, a shield built from deadlines, danger, and disappointment. The hours melt away. The bar slowly empties. The cynical laughter fades, replaced by the quiet, lonely clinking of a few remaining glasses. And then, in the east, the sky begins to soften. A pale, bruised purple replaces the inky black. Dawn is coming. The city below begins to stir, and from this height, it almost looks serene. But you know better now. You know that beneath that soft morning light, the invisible war is still breathing. You finish your drink. The warmth of the gin has done little to calm your nerves. You came here to be a witness, but you realize now that to witness anything outside this bubble of cynical expatriates, you need more than just a hotel room and a notepad. You need permission. You need access. You need the one thing that will separate you from the tourists and the spies. You need your press pass. Section 3. The press pass, your only shield. The next morning, the city feels different. The heat is the same. The noise is the same, but you're not. The rooftop bar showed you the locked door. Today, you go looking for the key. Your destination is a nondescript building in the heart of the city, the Joint United States Public Affairs Office, or JUSPAO. It's where the war is given its official voice, its daily narrative, and where you, a hopeful witness, must go to be sanctioned. You walk through the streets of Saigon, past the cyclo drivers calling out from the shade and the women selling baguettes from wicker baskets. You feel anonymous, just another pale face in a sea of them, another foreigner who doesn't belong, but you have a letter from your editor back home, a passport, and a naive kind of determination. Inside the JUSPAO building, the chaos of the street vanishes, replaced by a different kind of tension. The air is cold, unnaturally so, chilled by rattling air conditioners that fight a losing battle against the Saigon sun. The sounds are the clatter of typewriters, the quiet, urgent murmur of officials in hallways, and the shuffling of papers that hold life and death information. It's the sterile, bureaucratic heart of a very messy war. You wait in a line with others. Some look as new and nervous as you are. Others have the weary, hollowed-out look of people who have seen too much. They don't make eye contact. They just stare at the floor, waiting, their faces a roadmap of past deadlines and forgotten firefights. Your turn comes. You hand your documents to a clerk who looks at you with an expression of profound boredom. He doesn't seem to care about your ambition, your desire to tell the truth. To him, you are just another piece of paperwork to be processed. He types your name, stamps a form, and disappears into a back room. You wait again. The minutes stretch. You wonder if this was a mistake, if you should just go back to the hotel, back to the rooftop bar, back to being a ghost. Then the clerk returns. He slides a small, laminated card across the counter. It's your MACV press pass. You pick it up. It feels flimsy in your hand, lighter than you expected. Your own face stares back at you from a poorly taken photograph, looking young, serious, and utterly unprepared. Your name is typed beneath it, followed by the name of your news agency. It's stamped with the insignia of the Military Assistance Command, Vietnam. It is, you realize, the most important document you have ever held. This small rectangle of paper and plastic is not a shield made of steel. It will not stop a bullet. It will not deflect shrapnel. In fact, it does the opposite. It is a license to get closer to the things that kill. It's a ticket that gets you on a helicopter flying into a hot landing zone. It's the key that opens the door to military briefings, to fire bases on the edge of nowhere, to the very heart of the chaos. It gives you the right to stand on the precipice of history and take a picture. You walk out of the cold, sterile office and back into the living, breathing heat of Saigon. You slide the pass into your breast pocket. You can feel its slight weight against your chest. It feels like both a shield and a target. The city doesn't look any different, but you are. You have the key. You have the shield. But you quickly realize that in this world, there are rules that aren't written on any pass. There are truths that are never spoken in any official briefing, and there are dangers that no piece of plastic can ever protect you from. You now have access to the game, but you still don't know how to play. Section 4. Learning the unspoken rules. Your press pass feels warm in your shirt pocket. You're back at the rooftop bar that evening, but this time, you feel a flicker of belonging. You're not just a tourist anymore. You're one of them, or so you think. You mention to an older, seasoned correspondent sitting nearby that you attended the afternoon press briefing. You tell him you found it very informative. He looks at you, takes a long, slow drag from his cigarette, and lets out a dry, humorless laugh that seems to carry the weight of a dozen monsoons. Informative, he says, his voice raspy. Kid, that wasn't a briefing, that was a performance. He leans in, the smell of whiskey and stale smoke clinging to him like a second skin. Welcome to your first lesson, he murmurs, his eyes scanning the room. That's the 5 o'clock follies. It's theater. They give you numbers that don't add up, stories that sound too clean, and language that means nothing. Protective reaction strike means we bombed a village. Strategic Hamlet means we moved farmers off their land and put them behind barbed wire. Don't ever write what they say in that room. The real story isn't in the report, it's in what they leave out. He takes another sip of his drink. You just sit there, silent, feeling the naive confidence from this morning drain out of you like sand through a sieve. Here's your second lesson, he continues, pointing a crooked finger at you. Always carry 2 canteens of water. And a flask. The water's for the heat. The flask is for what you see in the heat. Don't ever mix them up. He looks down at your clean, new boots. Third lesson. And it reminds you that they are people, not just part of the scenery. He pauses, staring into his glass as if remembering something. And your camera, he says, his voice softer now. It's not a shield. Sometimes, it's a target. There are moments when you have to lift it, because that's your job. But there are other moments when you have to put it down and just be a human being. The trick is knowing the difference. Some kids never learn that trick. You get the sense he's not just talking about photography. He's talking about survival, not just of the body, but of the soul. He signals the waiter for another round, his movements slow and tired. We're all vultures here, kid, he says, a sad smile playing on his lips. We feed on the chaos. Just try to be a decent vulture. Don't steal another man's story. Don't get in the way of a medic. And if you see a guy staring into his drink like it holds all the answers, buy him another one. He probably needs it. He finished his new drink in one long swallow, the ice clinking against the glass. He stands up, his joints creaking. The real stories aren't here in Saigon, he says, gesturing to the city lights below. They're out there, in the mud, in the silence between firefights. Get on a chopper, go see it for yourself. Just try to come back. He gives you a final, weary nod and disappears into the crowd, leaving you alone with his words and the warm, flat dregs of your gin and tonic. You look down at your press pass. It no longer feels like a shield. It feels like a key to a world with rules you're only just beginning to understand. The most important one being that nothing here is what it seems. Section 5. The sound of the chopper. You wake before the sun, the old journalist's words still ringing in your ears. Get on a chopper. It's a rite of passage, he told you. The only way to see the real country, the real war. So, you make the calls, flash your new press pass, and find yourself at a dusty airbase on the edge of Saigon as dawn breaks. And there they are, lined up like giant, menacing dragonflies, the UH-1 Iroquois helicopters. The Hueys, they don't look like the sleek machines you've seen in newsreels. Up close, they are battered, utilitarian, smelling of hot metal, oil, and aviation fuel. The air itself feels heavy with their presence, then you hear it. The sound you've only heard from a distance until now, a slow, rhythmic whop-whop begins as the blades of one chopper start to turn. The sound grows, not just in volume, but in feeling. It becomes a physical force, a deep vibration that travels from the solace of your feet up into your chest. It's a sound that rattles your teeth and makes it hard to breathe. The air explodes into a whirlwind of dust and dried grass. This is the sound of the war. A crew chief, his face a mask of bored indifference, gestures for you to get in. There are no comfortable seats, no safety briefing. You're pointed to a canvas sling seat along the edge of the open cabin. You sit shoulder to shoulder with a handful of young soldiers, none of them looking older than 20. Their faces are stone. They hold their rifles loosely, their eyes fixed on something in the distance you can't see. They don't look at you. They don't speak. To them, you are just cargo, a strange piece of luggage with a camera. With a lurch that throws your stomach into your throat, the helicopter lifts off the ground. The earth doesn't just fall away. It's violently pushed down. The noise is now all-consuming, a deafening roar that erases all thought. The wind screams through the open doors, a hot, relentless blast that tears at your clothes and whips your hair across your face. You grip your camera tightly, afraid it will be ripped from your hands and lost to the air. And then, you look down. The chaotic sprawl of Saigon gives way to a landscape of impossible beauty. A patchwork of emerald green rice paddies, shimmering in the morning sun, is stitched together by winding, muddy rivers that curl like brown serpents through the countryside. Tiny villages with thatched roofs dot the landscape, smoke rising gently from their morning fires. From 1,000 feet up, there is no war, there is only a profound, breathtaking peace. The country looks ancient, serene, untouched. You understand now why people fight for it. It's a beautiful, dangerous lie. You raise your camera to take a picture, but your hands are shaking, partly from the helicopter's constant, jarring vibration, and partly from something else, fear. You look over at the soldiers. They are not looking at the view. They are not admiring the beauty. Their eyes are scanning the tree lines below, the dark, dense patches of jungle that interrupt the perfect green. They see something you don't. They know that down there, beneath that tranquil canopy, the war is still breathing. You suddenly realize what this machine is. It is not a vessel of peace. It's a tool. Its sound, which you can feel in your very bones, announces its arrival for miles. It is both savior and target. You are flying inside a noisy, vibrating bullseye. And for the first time, you feel a cold knot of fear tighten in your gut. The helicopter begins its descent, banking sharply. The beautiful, abstract painting below rushes up to meet you, resolving into individual trees, huts, and the hard, real texture of the earth. The landing is not gentle. The skids hit the ground with a bone-jarring thud. Before the blades even slow, the soldiers are out, leaping into the tall grass, their movements fluid and practiced. Go, 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 someone yells, and you stumble out of the chopper, your legs unsteady, your ears ringing. You fall to your knees in the mud. The chopper is already lifting away, its roar receding, leaving you in a sudden, shocking silence. The air is thick, hot, and smells of wet earth and vegetation. The only sound now is the buzzing of insects and the pounding of your own heart. You are no longer in the sky. You are on the ground. You are in the jungle. Section 6. Your first patrol. The silent jungle. The sound of the chopper fades to a dull throb. And then, nothing. The silence that follows is not peaceful, it's heavy. It presses in on you, thick and absolute, broken only by the high-pitched hum of a million insects you can't see. Your ears ring. The heat, which was just a nuisance in the city, is now a predator. It drains the strength from your limbs and beads of sweat trace cold paths down your spine. You are standing in a world of suffocating green. The jungle isn't a collection of trees, it's a living wall. Giant leaves, broad and waxy, block out the sun. Vines as thick as your arm hang like sleeping serpents. The air smells of wet, decaying earth, of sweet, rotting fruit, and of your own fear. The soldiers around you have transformed. In the helicopter, they were boys with stoic faces. Here, on the ground, they are something else. They move with a quiet, fluid grace that makes you feel clumsy and loud. They don't speak, not a single word. Communication happens through a language of subtle hand signals. A clenched fist, a flat palm, to fingers pointing toward the trees. You don't understand this language. You are illiterate in the world of survival. The patrol begins. You follow, trying to step where they step, but your boots sink into the slick mud with a loud squelch. A soldier in front of you turns and gives you a look not of anger, but of something worse, pity. You are a liability. Your every wrestle, every snapped twig under your clumsy foot, feels like a betrayal, a shout in this cathedral of silence. You thought the danger of this war would be loud explosions, gunfire, shouting. You were wrong. The real terror is the quiet. It's the waiting. It's the knowledge that the enemy is not a visible army marching towards you. The enemy is the jungle itself. It's the ground beneath your feet. The soldier walking point, a young man with impossibly old eyes, suddenly freezes. He raises a hand. The entire patrol stops, melting into the shadows of the foliage. You hold your breath. Your heart is a frantic drum against your ribs. The point man kneels, his fingers gently brushing away a leaf on the trail. Underneath it, you see a thin, almost invisible wire, stretched taut just inches above the ground, a tripwire. He doesn't say a word. He just points, and the patrol silently detours around it, their movements economical and precise. You realize you would have walked right into it. The fear is no longer abstract, it's a cold, metallic taste in your mouth. You start to see the world as they do. Every vine could be a wire. Every pile of leaves could hide a punji pit, its sharpened bamboo stakes waiting patiently. Every shadow could hold a face. The beauty of the jungle is gone now. All you see are threats. All you feel is a profound, suffocating vulnerability. Hours pass, or maybe it's just minutes. Time loses its meaning here. There is only the rhythmic squelch of boots, the drip of water from unseen leaves, and the constant, high-pitched whine of insects. You are drenched in sweat. Your clothes are plastered to your skin. A leech has attached itself to your ankle, and you don't even have the energy to care. You are exhausted, but not from the walking. You are exhausted from the tension, from the act of listening so hard that your ears ache. This is the part they never show in the movies, not the firefight, but the long, terrifying silence that comes before it. The silence where you have too much time to think about all the ways you could die. Then, just as the silence becomes unbearable, the point man holds up his hand again. But this time, it's a different signal. The patrol relaxes, just slightly. Through the trees, you see a clearing, a small village of thatched huts. The silence is broken by the sound of a crying baby, a barking dog. Normal life. You stumble out of the tree line, your body weak, your mind frayed. You survived your first patrol. You saw no enemy, you heard no gunshots, but you understand now. The war isn't just about what you see. It's about what you don't. It's about the fear of the unseen, a fear that has now settled deep into your bones. Section 7. The faces that haunt you. You are in the village clearing. The oppressive silence of the jungle has been replaced by the quiet, watchful stillness of its people. The soldiers take a short break, leaning against the walls of the small huts, drinking water from their canteens, their movements heavy with exhaustion. The villagers watch you from doorways, their faces unreadable. You are an alien here, a creature of a different world who arrived on a screaming metal bird. Instinctively, you lift your camera. The heavy metal body feels familiar in your hands. A comforting weight. It's a shield, a barrier of glass and steel that you can put between yourself and this overwhelming reality. Through the viewfinder, the world shrinks. The chaos becomes a composition. The noise fades. There is only the frame and what you choose to put inside it. Your lens finds the face of one of the soldiers. He's leaning against a tree. Helmet off, a cigarette dangling from his lips. He can't be more than 19. Through the focus ring, you see the details you missed before. The light spray of freckles across his nose, a remnant of a childhood spent under a different sun. The dirt caked into the fine lines around his eyes. And the eyes themselves, they are not focused on you. They are not focused on anything. They are staring at something 1,000 yards away, something only he can see. This is the look they write about, the look of a man who has seen too much and is no longer entirely here. You press the shutter. Click. The sound is small, almost intrusive, and you feel a pang of guilt. You've just stolen a piece of his soul and you don't even know his name. You turn your camera towards the village. An old woman sits in the dark doorway of her hut, her hands methodically weaving a basket from reeds. Her face is a beautiful, tragic map of history itself. Every line is a story, a drought, a famine, a war against the French, a lost child, a lifetime of sun and sorrow. Her eyes, dark and deep, meet yours through the lens. There is no anger in them, no fear, just a profound, ancient weariness. She has seen men like you come and go. She has seen empires rise and fall while she sat in this very doorway, weaving. She is the land itself. Click. You capture her stillness, a resilience so deep it feels like a force of nature. A small child, no older than 5, peeks out from behind the woman's legs, clutching her worn dress. The child is not afraid, only curious. They stare directly into your lens, their eyes wide and dark and full of questions you could never hope to answer. What is this strange metal eye you're pointing at them? Why are these tall, pale men in their village? In that child's face, you see what this war is supposedly about, a fight for the future, for innocence, and yet, you also see what is being destroyed in the process. Click. This photograph hurts the most. It feels like an accusation. You lower the camera, the world rushes back in. Loud and confusing, you look at the roll of film in your pocket. You haven't been taking pictures of a war. You've been collecting ghosts. Each frame holds a story, a universe of pain and love and endurance that will never be told in the official reports from the 5 o'clock follies. These faces, the young soldier's vacant stare, the old woman's timeless gaze, the child's innocent curiosity, these are the faces that will follow you home. They will live in the darkroom as you develop them, and later, they will live in your dreams. They are the faces that will haunt you long after the sound of helicopters has faded into memory. They are the true cost of this war, a cost that can only be paid in memory. Section 8. A conversation without words. You put your camera away. It feels intrusive now, a cold barrier between you and this fragile moment of peace. The soldiers are still resting, their conversation a low murmur, but your attention is drawn to an old man sitting in the shade of his hut. He is mending a fishing net, his hands moving with a slow, hypnotic rhythm that seems as ancient as the trees around him. Each knot is tied with a practiced grace, a muscle memory passed down through generations. You feel a pull, a quiet urge to connect. Not as a journalist, but as a person. You walk over slowly, your heavy boots feeling clumsy and loud on the packed earth. You try to make your presence known without being a threat, a difficult task for a tall foreigner carrying the weight of an invading army on his shoulders. The old man doesn't look up at first. He continues his work, his world narrowed to the threads in his gnarled hands. You stand there for a moment, feeling foolish and out of place. The eyes of the village are on you. You can feel them. You are an interruption, a question mark in their daily existence. Finally, he pauses his work. He looks up at you, and his eyes are not what you expected. There is no fear, no anger, just a deep, profound exhaustion, as if he has been tired for 1,000 years. He looks at your face, then down at your clean boots, then back to your eyes. He gives a small, almost imperceptible nod and gestures with his chin to a low wooden stool beside him. An invitation. You sit. The two of you are just a few feet apart, wrapped in a silence that is thicker than the jungle air. The only sound is the soft scrape of the net against his fingers and the distant, unchanging hum of insects. You watch his hands. They are a story in themselves, scarred, stained, and yet incredibly deft. They have built homes, pulled fish from the river, and likely buried sons. You think of your own hands, which only know how to hold a pen and a camera. You have never felt so useless. A young woman, perhaps his daughter, emerges from the hut. She moves with a quiet grace, her bare feet making no sound on the ground. She carries two small, handleless cups of tea. She places one on the ground in front of you and one in front of him. She never meets your eyes. She simply places the cups down and disappears back into the shadows of the hut. You pick up the cup. It's warm. The tea is hot, bitter, and fragrant with a scent you don't recognize. You take a sip, mimicking the old man, and in that moment, something shifts. This isn't a peace offering. It's not a welcome. It's something simpler and more profound. It's a shared ritual, a moment of humanity that exists outside the war, outside the politics, outside the noise. In this quiet act of drinking tea, a conversation is taking place without a single word. He is acknowledging your presence. You are acknowledging his. You look into his eyes again, and this time you see a flicker of something else. A shared understanding. He is tired of this war. You are tired of it, too, and you've only just arrived. He has likely lost more than you can imagine. You have seen things you wish you could forget. The details are different, but the color of grief is the same. For a brief, timeless moment, you are not a journalist, and he is not a villager on the other side of a conflict. You are just two men, sharing a cup of tea, caught in a storm neither of you created. He finished his tea, sets the small cup down with a soft click, and his hands return to the fishing net. The conversation is over. You stand up, give a small, awkward bow of your head, and walk away. As you rejoin the soldiers, who are now stirring and preparing to move out, you realize that the silent cup of tea you just shared was more real and more truthful than anything you've heard in the press briefings or the rooftop bars of Saigon. It's a story you can never write, a photograph you can never take. It can only be felt. And as you turn to leave the village, you can already feel the pull of the city again, the world of noise, lies, and hollow certainty. It's time to go back. Cheekchinry. Chung to S and Riki Ginulang Vakiturk Le VVISS Fictini PCA Saigon Trong Section 9. Thin Y Trong Chin Titing Langque Sangting B and Ao CAZC. Vasau Ko DND and Lungjun Ki Kao Chin Chan Viekiem. Section 9. The Two-Faced City. The helicopter ride back is a jarring reversal of the morning's journey. The quiet, terrifying jungle recedes, and the sprawling, noisy city rises to meet you once more. You land at the airbase, and the transition is so abrupt it gives you vertigo. One moment, you are in a world of mud, silence, and unseen threats. The next, you are back on paved roads, surrounded by the familiar smells of diesel fumes and street food. The dust from the patrol is still on your boots, but you are a world away. You are back in Saigon, and the city feels impossibly, obscenely normal. By day, Saigon is a vibrant, chaotic symphony of life that seems determined to ignore the war. You walk through the Binthan market, a labyrinth of stalls overflowing with color and scent. Mountains of dragon fruit, mangostines, and rambutan create a sweet, intoxicating perfume. Merchants call out to you, holding up bolts of silk, handcrafted lacquerware, and pyramids of fragrant spices. Children laugh as they chase each other through the crowded aisles. Women haggle over the price of fish, their voices sharp and musical. It's a world of commerce, of gossip, of everyday survival that has nothing to do with ambushes or tripwires. You sit at a sidewalk cafe, the kind with tiny plastic stools that feel like they might buckle under your weight. You order a kuffa swaka strong, dark coffee sweetened with condensed milk, poured over ice. It's a revelation. As you sip the cold, sweet liquid, you watch the river of traffic flow by. Motorbikes weave through the streets in a dizzying, beautiful ballet of controlled chaos. A young couple shares a laugh on a Vespa. A businessman in a crisp shirt reads a newspaper. It all feels so real, so alive, that the jungle patrol from this morning feels like a fever dream. Was that real? Or is this the illusion? But as the sun begins to set, casting long, golden shadows across the French colonial balconies, the city's other face begins to emerge. The change is subtle at first. The lively chatter of the market softens. Shopkeepers begin pulling down the heavy metal grills over their storefronts. The families disappear from the sidewalks, retreating into their homes as the city prepares for the night. The curfew approaches. The streets, once choked with life, grow quiet, almost empty. The warm, golden light of the afternoon is replaced by the harsh, lonely glow of streetlights and the flickering neon of bar signs. The city's sounds change, too. The roar of traffic fades into the occasional hum of a military jeep on patrol. The cheerful noise of commerce is replaced by the nervous laughter spilling out of bars, and a new sound, one you've been trying to forget. It's a low, dull thud from the outskirts of the city. Thump, a pause. Then another. Thump. It's the sound of artillery. The other journalists call it outgoing mail, a casual, cynical name for the nightly ritual of war. The locals don't even seem to flinch. They've lived with this sound for years. It's just another part of the city's nocturnal rhythm. But for you, each muffled explosion is a chilling reminder. The war is always there, waiting just beyond the city lights, a patient monster in the dark. You realize Saigon isn't one city. It's two. There is the city of the day, hot, vibrant, and alive with the defiant normalcy of life. And there is the city of the night, tense, cautious, and haunted by the distant drumbeat of a war that never sleeps. As a correspondent, you have a passport to both worlds, and you are beginning to feel the strain of living in between. The contradiction starts to wear you down, blurring the lines of what you thought you knew. This vibrant, beautiful place is also a place of immense suffering, and you, with your camera and your notepad, are caught right in the middle, trying to make sense of a city that refuses to be just one thing. Section 10. The moral gray zone. You've been in country for a few months now. You've learned the rhythm of the place. You know which bars serve the coldest beer, which helicopter pilots are the craziest, and which officials will lie to your face with a polite smile. A certain professional numbness has begun to set in. It has too. It's a survival mechanism. Your camera is your shield. You tell yourself every morning, you are not a participant. You are just here to observe, to document. But one humid afternoon, in a village that doesn't have a name on your map, that shield cracks. You're embedded with a platoon of young Marines on what they call a pacification mission. The objective is to win the hearts and minds of the local Vietnamese. It sounds noble on paper. It looks different on the ground. The scene is a paradox. On one side of the dusty village square, a young soldier with a kind face is handing out chocolate bars to a group of wide-eyed children. They take the candy with shy, hesitant hands. One of the soldiers is even making funny faces, trying to coax a laugh from a little girl who clutches her brother's hand. You raise your camera. This is the photo they want back home, the one that says, "We are the good guys." The one that shows connection, humanity, but as you focus your lens, your attention is pulled to a different scene just a few feet away. The lieutenant, a man with a hard jaw and tired, impatient eyes, is interrogating the village elder. There is no physical violence. Not yet, but the air is thick with threat. The lieutenant is speaking English, his voice loud and sharp. "Where are they?" "We know they were here." A young, terrified translator tries to keep up, his own voice trembling as he relays the questions in Vietnamese. The old man just sits on a low stool, his hands resting on his knees. He doesn't look at the lieutenant, he stares at the ground, his face a mask of quiet, unyielding dignity. He shakes his head slowly, he says nothing. You lower your camera. The shot of the soldier with the children suddenly feels like a lie. Who is the enemy in this picture? Is it the old man who might be protecting Viet Cong soldiers? Or is it the lieutenant, whose frustration is visibly turning into rage? Or is it the war itself, which has forced everyone into these impossible roles? The lieutenant kicks over a nearby basket of rice. The grains spill across the dirt like tiny white tears. The children, who were just accepting candy, now fall silent, their eyes wide with a fear that seems far too old for their faces. The moment of goodwill is gone, shattered by a single act of impatience. You feel a cold knot form in your stomach. This isn't a story of good versus evil. This is a story of power versus powerlessness. It's a story of a foreign army trying to win hearts with chocolate while taking rice with threats. You don't take a picture of the spilled rice. You don't take a picture of the old man's silent defiance. You can't, because no single frame could ever capture the profound, suffocating complexity of this moment. You realize with a sinking feeling that the truth isn't black and white. It's not even gray. It's a murky, impossible color that changes depending on where you stand. As the platoon prepares to leave the village, having found nothing, you look back at the faces of the people. They are not grateful for the candy. They are not defiant. They are just watching you go, their expressions as unreadable as the jungle itself. You came here looking for the truth, but you're starting to suspect that there is no single truth to be found. There are only stories, and every story has another, hidden side. The line between us and them, between savior and oppressor, is beginning to disappear. Section 11. The moment it happens, you've been in country long enough now to know that war is mostly waiting. You spend hours, days, under the relentless sun, waiting for something to happen, waiting for a helicopter, waiting for a battle to start, waiting for it to end. Today is one of those days. You're on Highway 1, just outside a small village called Tring Bang. It's hot. The air is thick with dust and the sweet, cloying smell of diesel. You're with a handful of other journalists and a few South Vietnamese soldiers. You're all leaning against a jeep, trading cigarettes, telling tired jokes, drinking warm water from canteens. Nothing is happening. It's just another Tuesday. Another day of waiting for a story that might never come. Then, the sound. It starts as a low drone in the distance, a sound you've learned to identify as easily as your own name. You look up, for planes, sky raiders, are circling high above, like lazy vultures in the hazy blue sky. This isn't unusual. Planes are always in the sky here. But then, one of them banks, sharply. Then another. They are not passing over, they are diving. The soldiers around you start shouting, their casual boredom instantly replaced by a sharp, electric fear. They scramble for cover, diving into the shallow ditch by the side of the road. You follow, your heart pounding, your body moving on pure instinct. You press yourself against the cool, damp earth, your camera clutched to your chest like a prayer. The world becomes a scream. The planes roar as they descend, their engines ripping a hole in the sky. You hear a series of soft, strange thuds as they release their cargo. These aren't the sharp whistle of bombs. This is something else, something slower, more deliberate. And then, the village in front of you erupts. It's not a clean explosion of dirt and shrapnel. It's a thick, rolling wave of fire, a wall of orange and black that clings to everything it touches. It swallows the trees. It consumes the thatched roofs of the huts. It pours over the Cao Dai temple where you knew civilians were sheltering. You can feel the searing heat on your face, even from here. And the smell, it's the smell of gasoline, of burning plastic, and of something else, something sweet and deeply, horribly wrong. This is napalm. For a moment, There is only the roar of the flames and the thick, black smoke that blots out the sun. Turning midday into a hellish twilight, the world holds its breath. Then, out of the smoke, figures begin to emerge. They are stumbling silhouettes, dark shapes against a backdrop of fire. You see an old woman, her clothes smoldering, carrying the limp body of a baby. You see soldiers, their uniforms blackened, their faces masks of shock. You see two small children, their hands burned, walking in a daze, their eyes wide and empty. And then, you see her. A young girl runs out of the smoke, her arms outstretched. Her clothes have been burned clean from her body. She is naked, her skin raw and scorched. She is screaming. But it's a silent scream, a sound so full of agony that it seems to exist beyond hearing. It's a scream you feel in your bones. She is running, not away from the fire, but towards you, towards your camera, towards the world that has just been ripped apart. Time seems to slow down. The shouting, the smoke, the chaos, it all fades into a dull, distant roar. There is only this running child, a living, breathing testament to the horror of this war. Every lesson you've learned, every cynical joke you've shared, it all vanishes, you know, with a cold, terrifying certainty that this is it. This is the moment, the one that will explain everything. Your hands, no longer shaking, lift the camera to your eye, your training, your professionalism, your purpose, it all narrows to this single, devastating frame. Section 12. The click that echoes. The world around you seems to dissolve. The smoke, the fire, the shouting soldiers, the weeping mothers, they all blur into a soft, unfocused backdrop. In your mind, there is only silence, a deep, profound silence where the only thing that moves is a little girl, running, her skin on fire, her mouth open in a scream that makes no sound. She is the center of the universe. Your hands, which were trembling just moments ago, are now impossibly steady. Your breath, which was ragged and shallow, is now held in your chest. The years of training, the muscle memory, the thousands of photographs you've taken before this one, of politicians, of parades, of smiling children who are not on fire, it all converges into this single, terrible moment. You lift the camera to your eye, the world compresses into a small, perfect rectangle of glass and light. Through the viewfinder, the scene becomes intimate and strangely distant at the same time. You are a part of it, yet you are removed, protected by the thin veil of the lens. You are a ghost with a machine. Through the glass, you see her face clearly now. It's not just a face of pain, it is the face of all pain, a mask of pure, primal agony that seems to contain the suffering of the entire war. Her mouth is open in a scream that you still can't hear over the pounding in your own ears. Her small body, a fragile silhouette against the black smoke, is a testament to the horror of what has happened. The world behind her blurs into a dreamscape of chaos, running soldiers, a road stretching to nowhere, a sky choked with fire. The composition is perfect, a voice in the back of your mind. The cold, professional part of you recognizes this with a sickening clarity. It's a horrible thought, but it's true. This single frame tells the entire story. It holds the innocence, the suffering, the chaos, the failure. It is the war, condensed into one image. Your finger finds the shutter button. It feels cold against your skin, a small, round piece of metal. This is emotion you have practiced 1,000 times. It's what you do. In this moment, you are not thinking about history. You are not thinking about front pages or photography awards. You are thinking about light. You are thinking about focus. You are thinking about capturing what is in front of you before it vanishes forever. You are a mechanic of memory. You are doing your job. You hold your breath. Click. The sound is so small, so quiet, so utterly insignificant in the face of the roaring fires and the silent screams. A tiny, mechanical noise, a whisper of metal and springs closing and opening in a fraction of a second. But in that instant, you have done something irreversible. You have frozen this moment of human agony in time. You have trapped this girl's suffering on a thin piece of celluloid. You have turned her pain into an image. It is both a sacred act and a terrible one. You take another frame, and another. Your thumb works the lever, advancing the film, your finger pressing the shutter again. But you know the first one was it. The moment is already gone, but it now exists forever, captured in the dark, quiet chamber of your camera. Then, you lower the camera from your eye, and the world rushes back in. The noise, the heat, the horror, the spell is broken. The professional detachment shatters like glass. The girl is still running, past you now, and you are no longer just a photographer. You are a human being standing in the middle of hell, and a child is on fire. The roll of film in your camera now feels impossibly heavy. It's no longer just film, it's a testimony, it's evidence. It's a scream that you have to make the rest of the world hear. A desperate, frantic urgency grips you. You have to get it out. You have to get it developed. You have to show them. You have to show them all what you just saw. Section 13. Getting the film out. The world snaps back into focus. Loud, hot, and horrific. The professional shield you hide behind has shattered. You are no longer a photographer. You are a man standing in the wreckage of a village, and a child is running towards you, her skin burned away, her silent scream tearing through the air. In that moment, you do something your training never prepared you for. You put the camera down, you run towards her, towards the other children stumbling out of the black smoke. You grab your canteen, pouring water over the girl's burns, trying to offer comfort that feels impossibly small. You and a few other journalists begin to act, not as reporters, but as human beings. You flag down a van, using your press pass not as a key, but as a weapon of authority, demanding the driver take these children to a hospital, now. The journey to the nearest town is a blur of panic and pain. The girl, whose name you later learn is Kimfuck, is weeping in the back. You are helpless. You can only watch, the images you just captured already burning themselves into your memory. After you've left them at a small, overwhelmed hospital, after you've argued with doctors and begged them to help, a new urgency takes over. The rolls of film in your pocket now feel like they weigh 100 pounds. They are no longer just pictures. They are evidence. They are a testimony. And they will spoil in this heat. The race back to Saigon begins. You catch a ride on the back of a motorbike, the wind whipping past you, but it offers no relief from the humidity or the images replaying in your mind. The city is a chaotic maze. You cling to the driver as he weaves through traffic, your hand protectively over the pocket containing the film. Every bump in the road, every sudden stop, sends a jolt of fear through you. What if you crash? What if the film is destroyed? The paranoia is a fever. You imagine being stopped at a checkpoint, a soldier confiscating your camera, your film, erasing what you saw. You imagine the canisters falling from your pocket, lost forever in the city's dusty streets. The face of the running girl flashes in your mind's eye. You have to get her story out. The world has to see what you saw. You finally burst into the Associated Press Bureau in Saigon. The cool, air-conditioned office is a shock to your system. You are covered in mud, sweat, and the smell of smoke. Your hands are shaking. Journalists turn from their clattering teletype machines to stare at you. You stumble to the darkroom, handing the precious canisters of film to the technician. There's something on there, you manage to say, your voice cracking. Roll 3, maybe 4, a girl. She's on fire, running. Then comes the worst part. The waiting. You sit in a chair, the adrenaline slowly draining out of you, replaced by a deep, hollow exhaustion. You can hear the muffled sounds from the darkroom, water running, chemicals sloshing. It's an agony of suspense. Did you get the shot? Was it in focus? Did you capture the truth of that moment? Or did your shaking hands betray you? You are filled with a strange, terrible mix of dread and professional hope. You pray that you did, and you pray that you didn't. The darkroom door swings open. Your photo editor, a grizzled veteran named Horst, walks out. He is holding a wet, freshly developed print. He doesn't look at you. He stares at the image in his hands, his face pale. The usual newsroom chaos seems to fade into a hush around him. He looks up, his eyes meeting yours. He doesn't need to say a word. You see it in his expression. You got it. He holds up the photo, and you see her again. The naked girl, screaming, running from a world of fire. It's exactly as you remembered. It's worse. My God, he whispers, not to you, but to the photo. In that moment, you know this small, wet piece of paper is about to explode across the world. It's a silent scream that is about to become deafening. Section 14. When the world sees. Back in the bureau, a debate rages. It's quiet, but intense. The photo of the girl, Kim Fuck, is pinned to a board. It violates policy. The Associated Press doesn't transmit photos of frontal nudity, especially of children, but your editor, Horst, a man who has seen more war than most generals, refuses to let it go. This isn't about policy, he argues, his voice slow but firm. This is history. We are sending it, and so. The image is placed on the wire. You watch as the machine whirs to life, translating the photograph into a series of electronic pulses, a ghost being sent through a wire across the ocean. It's a strange, sterile process for something so full of human pain. You don't feel triumphant. You don't feel proud. You just feel empty, like you've given away a part of yourself that you can never get back. You go back to your hotel. You try to sleep, but you can't. The image of the girl is burned onto the back of your eyelids. The next day, the first ripples arrive. Reports trickle back through the teletype machines. London, Paris, Rome, Tokyo. The photo is on the front page. You read the headlines as they clatter into existence. One letter at a time. The terror of war, a child's agony, the horror in Vietnam. The words feel small, inadequate. They are trying to describe a scream that has no language. You are still in Saigon. You walk the same streets, breathe the same humid air, drink the same warm beer. But now, the world is reacting to something you witnessed, something you captured. It feels surreal, like you are living in two different realities at once. The reality of this chaotic city, and the reality of the global firestorm you have just ignited. A few days later, the newspapers from America arrive by plane. You see it with your own eyes, your photograph, on the front page of the New York Times. It's bigger than you remembered, more powerful. The grainy newsprint gives it a raw, undeniable reality. It's no longer your photo. It doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the world, and the world is shaken. You read reports of the impact back home, public outrage, anti-war protests growing in size and fury, with people holding up giant placards of your photograph. Your image, that quiet, terrible moment, is now a weapon in a different kind of war, a cultural war that is tearing your own country apart. You hear that even the president has seen it, that he questioned its authenticity, wondering aloud if it was fixed. The idea is so absurd, it's almost laughable, if only it were. You feel a strange and terrible mix of emotions. Pride, that you did your job, that you told a truth that needed to be told, but also a profound sense of horror. You have exposed this child's private hell for the world to consume, to debate, to use for its own purposes. And through it all, you remain invisible. They know the photo. They know the girl in the photo. Her image is becoming iconic. But you, the person who was there, the one who held the camera, you are a ghost, a footnote. You walk through the bustling streets of Saigon, and you are completely anonymous. No one knows that you are the one who started this fire. The invisibility is both a relief and a strange kind of burden. You have changed the world, and no one even sees you. Section 15. The weight of a single image. The world knows your photograph. They see it in black and white, printed on the front page of newspapers from New York to Paris. They see a single, frozen moment of horror. But they don't know the memory. You sit in your small, humid hotel room in Saigon, A copy of the Times spread out on your bed. There she is, the running girl. The image is stark, powerful, undeniable. It has become an icon overnight, a symbol of the war's innocent victims. People are calling it a masterpiece, a work of art, but you were there. And you know it wasn't art, it was reality. The world sees a silent scream, but you can still hear it. You remember the sound that came from her throat, a sound that wasn't human, a raw, piercing shriek of pure agony that the photograph could never capture. The world sees a girl running from a vague, smoky background. You remember the smell. The sickeningly sweet, chemical scent of napalm clinging to the air, mixing with the smell of burning wood and scorched flesh. It's a smell that sticks to the back of your throat, a ghost you can still taste when you wake up in the middle of the night. The world sees a single, tragic figure. You remember the others. The girl's brothers running beside her, their faces contorted in fear. The grandmother carrying a baby that was already gone. The soldiers whose mistake had caused all of this, their faces a mixture of shock and shame. The photograph, for all its truth, is a lie of omission. It frames the horror, but it crops out the context, the sounds, the smells, the moments just before and just after. And you realize that you are now the sole guardian of that full memory. You are the only one who knows the entire story, the story of putting your camera down, of the frantic ride to the hospital, of the child's whimpers in the back of the van. The world consumes the image. You are left to carry the weight of the reality. It's a heavy, lonely burden. You try to talk about it with the other journalists at the bar, but they have their own ghosts. They nod. They understand, but they can't take the weight from you. Every correspondent in this war carries their own collection of haunting faces, of moments they can't unsee. The photograph begins to follow you. You see it everywhere. But when you look at it, you feel a profound sense of detachment. It's like looking at the work of a stranger. That famous image, the one changing the world, feels disconnected from the trembling, terrified man who stood on that roadside, clutching a camera. The photo has taken on a life of its own. It speaks for presidents and protesters. It fuels arguments and ends them. It has become a symbol, a narrative, a piece of history. But for you, it is still just a memory of a little girl on fire, running down a road, and you are the one who froze her in that moment of agony for the world to see. You did your job, you told the truth, but you wonder now, in the quiet, sleepless hours of the Saigon night, what the cost of that truth really is. Not for the world, but for you, and for her. Section 16. An unwanted fame. The news arrives not with a grand announcement, but as a crackling message over the teletype machine from the home office, a congratulations. A brief, sterile sentence informing you that the photograph has won an award, a big one, a Pulitzer Prize. Your colleagues at the bureau slap you on the back. They buy you a drink at the rooftop bar and raise their glasses to the man of the hour. They toast, their smiles a mixture of genuine respect and professional envy. You force a smile back, you say thank you. But the word feels hollow in your mouth. You don't feel like the man of the hour. You feel like a thief who just got praised for the elegance of his crime. Your name is now forever attached to that image. It's printed in newspapers and magazines around the world, a small line of credit beneath a universe of pain. And people in Saigon start to recognize you. It's a subtle shift. A nod from an embassy official who once ignored you. A soldier who stops you on the street and says, "Hey, you're the guy who took that picture, right?" You are no longer just a correspondent. You are an adjective. You are the Napalm Girl photographer. Your own identity, the person you were before that day on Highway 1, starts to feel like a ghost, fading away, being replaced by this new, uncomfortable title. And people start to treat you differently. Some approach you with a kind of hushed reverence, as if you hold some deep, secret knowledge about the nature of suffering. They want to hear the story behind the photo, the details, as if listening will somehow bring them closer to the truth. They don't understand that the truth is something you wouldn't wish on anyone. Others look at you with a quiet resentment. They see you as someone who has profited from a child's agony. You won a prize, you have a famous name now. They don't see the man who put his camera down. They don't see the frantic drive to the hospital. They see the fame, not the cost. You feel trapped between these two projections, the hero and the vulture. And in your heart, you feel like you are neither. You are just there, you did your job. Why is it so complicated now? This unwanted fame doesn't bring you peace. It doesn't quiet the memory of the girl's scream. In fact, it makes it louder. Every time someone praises the photograph for its composition or its raw power, you flinch. You don't see composition, you see a child's burned skin. You don't see power, you see pain. The rooftop bar, once a place of cynical comfort, now feels like a stage. You feel the eyes on you, the whispers. You start to avoid it, retreating further into the solitude of your hotel room. The loneliness deepens. You are known by everyone, yet you feel completely, utterly alone with the one thing they all want to talk about. You realize that fame is just another kind of cage, a beautiful, celebrated cage, but a cage nonetheless. You are known for the single worst thing you have ever witnessed. The world wants to celebrate the image, but you just want to forget the reality of it. And you can't, because with this new fame comes a new kind of question, a question people ask with a look of morbid curiosity in their eyes, a question you can never truly answer, because the words don't exist. Section 17, the question you can't answer. It happens more and more now, at a dinner party hosted by a slick embassy official. In a crowded bar filled with fresh-faced journalists just arrived in country, their eyes still wide with a mixture of ambition and fear, they corner you, their voices dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, their eyes filled with a kind of morbid curiosity. They always ask the same question. So, what did it feel like to take that picture? And every time, you open your mouth to answer, and the words just die on your tongue. Because how do you explain it? How do you put language to something that exists beyond words? You could give them the professional answer, the one you've started to rehearse in your head for moments like this. You could say, it was instinct. You see the shot, you take it, you don't think, you react, you're focused on the light, the aperture, the shutter speed. It's a technical process, it's the job. But as you think the words, you know they are a lie, a clean, simple lie designed to protect both you and them from the messy, complicated truth. Because it wasn't just a job, and it wasn't just instinct. How do you describe the feeling of your own heart stopping in your chest, only to be replaced by the frantic, mechanical clicking of a camera shutter? How do you explain the strange, cold detachment that washes over you in a moment of pure horror? The feeling of watching the world burn through a small glass rectangle, as if you're a ghost at your own funeral. You are there, but you are not. It's a survival mechanism, you suppose. The only way your mind can process the unspeakable is to turn it into a composition, to turn it into a frame. How do you explain the guilt that comes later? The deep, knowing guilt of knowing that your greatest professional achievement was born from a child's absolute worst moment. The shame of winning awards for documenting her agony. The world calls it art. You call it evidence of a crime you were a part of, simply by being there and doing nothing but opening a lens. How do you tell them that when you look at the photo now, you don't see the powerful, iconic image they see? You see the moments that the photo doesn't show. You feel the heat, you smell the smoke, you hear the screams, you remember the weight of the little girl's body when you helped lift her into the van. The photograph is silent, your memory is not. If you say, it was horrific, the word feels laughably small. If you say, it was important, you sound arrogant and self-serving. And if you say, I was just doing my job, you sound cold, unfeeling, inhuman. So, you don't say any of that, you just look at them, and after a long pause, you shake your head slightly. You give them the only piece of the truth you know how to share. I was just glad I could get her to a hospital, you say quietly. It's an honest answer. And it's enough for them. They nod, satisfied. They have their story, their small piece of the legend. They move on to talk about something else, but the real question hangs in the air, unanswered, because it is unanswerable. It becomes another one of the ghosts you carry, a question that you will be asked for the rest of your life, in a dozen different languages, in 100 different rooms, and you will never find the right words, because some moments are not meant to be described, they are only meant to be survived. Section 18. Looking through old lenses. Years have passed, decades. The war is a chapter in history books now, a series of dates and names that students memorize for exams. You are older. Your hair is silver at the temples. You live in a quiet house, far from the heat and the noise. The only loud sound here is the wind in the trees. One rainy afternoon, you find yourself in your study. You pull out an old, dusty cardboard box from the back of a closet. Inside, wrapped in yellowing tissue paper, are your contact sheets from Vietnam. Hundreds of tiny frames, each one a frozen moment from a life you barely recognize as your own. You don't look for the famous one. You never do. You look for the others, the quiet ones, the ghosts. You hold a sheet up to the dim light from the window. Your eyes trace over the small black and white squares. There, a frame of 3 young Marines, barely boys, sitting on an ammo crate, laughing as they share a can of peaches. Their faces are bright with youth. You remember that day. You remember the taste of the warm, syrupy peaches they offered you. You remember their laughter. You also remember that 2 of them didn't come back from the patrol that afternoon. The photograph is so full of life, but the memory is full of silence. You move to the next sheet, a blurry image, almost abstract, a chaotic smear of jungle leaves, the heel of a boot, and a flash of light. It's a bad photograph, technically, out of focus, poorly composed, but it feels more honest than any of your prize-winning shots, because it captures the feeling of that moment perfectly. The panic of diving for cover, the world tilting sideways, the adrenaline that makes everything unreal. It's a picture of pure, unedited fear. Your finger traces down to another frame, a quiet portrait of a Vietnamese farmer. He is standing in a flooded rice paddy, his face a beautiful, intricate web of lines, his hands resting on a wooden hoe. He isn't looking at you, he is looking up at the sky, as if waiting for rain, or perhaps for something else. You remember the profound peace of that moment, a silence that was ancient and deep, a silence that existed long before the war and would exist long after it, a peace that felt more fragile than glass. You find a photo another journalist took of you. You're sitting on the back of a jeep, your camera heavy in your lap. You look so young, so tired. Your eyes have a look of raw, unguarded sincerity that you don't recognize anymore. This was the person you were before the ghosts moved in, before the weight of what you'd seen settled into your bones. You look at this young man, this stranger, and you feel a quiet, aching pity for him. He has no idea what's coming. You put the contact sheets away, the old paper cool against your fingertips. The famous photograph, the one that won the awards, tells one story. A powerful one? Yes, but these forgotten frames, these quiet moments between the firefights, they tell another story. The story of the life that happened around the war. The laughter, the waiting, the boredom, the quiet dignity. You close the box and slide it back into the closet, but you can't put the memories away. You realize they are not just memories anymore, they are scars, each one a small, faint mark left on your soul. They don't hurt anymore, not in the sharp, burning way they used to. But they are there, a permanent part of your own inner landscape, and you know they will be with you until the very end. Section 19. The scars that don't heal. You left Vietnam decades ago. You have a life now, a quiet one. You live in a house with solid walls and a roof that doesn't leak. You drink clean water from a tap. You sleep in a comfortable bed. The war is over. That's what the history books say, but you learn, in the long, quiet years that follow, that some wars never truly end. They just change location. They move from the jungle and the rice paddies into the landscape of your mind. They become a part of you. It happens in small, unexpected moments. You're walking down a quiet suburban street, and a car backfires. For a split second, you are not here. You are back on a dusty road outside of Saigon, your ears ringing with the sharp crack of a rifle, your body tensing for a fight that ended 30 years ago. A helicopter flies overhead, carrying tourists or news crews. You look up instinctively, your chest tightening, half expecting to see the familiar, menacing shape of a Huey. You can almost feel the wop-wop of its blades in your bones, a sound that once meant both salvation and destruction. You're at a summer barbecue, and the smell of charcoal smoke drifts through the air. And suddenly, you're not smelling grilled food. You're smelling the thick, acrid smoke from a burning village. The scent of jasmine from a neighbor's garden brings you back to the humid nights on the rooftop bar, the faces of cynical journalists lit by neon signs. These moments are fleeting, like ghosts passing through a room. But they leave behind a cold residue. They are reminders. The hardest part, though, isn't the noise. It's the silence. In the quiet moments, late at night, when the house is still and the world is asleep, they come back. The faces, the young soldier with the 1,000-yard stare, the old woman in the doorway, the child running from the fire. They don't speak. They don't accuse. They just watch, their expressions unchanging, frozen in the amber of your memory. You've learned to live with these ghosts. You've learned that they are not there to frighten you. They are there to remind you. They are the keepers of a story that you are chosen to tell. You don't try to fight them anymore. You just make room for them. They sit with you as you read the morning paper. They stand behind you as you look at your own reflection in the mirror. You understand now that you never truly leave a war zone. You just carry it with you. The scars are not on your skin. They are deeper. They are the kind that don't bleed, but they never fully fade. They are the quiet hum beneath the surface of your new, peaceful life. A permanent echo of the chaos, the fear, and the profound, heartbreaking humanity you witnessed through the lens of a camera, a lifetime ago. Section 20. A picture tells 1,000 words, but never the whole story. The rain patters softly against the window pane of your quiet study. The old box of photographs is closed now, tucked away back in the darkness of the closet. But the ghosts remain, not as haunting figures, but as quiet companions in the stillness of the room. You came to Vietnam as a young man with a camera, believing that truth was something you could capture, frame, and hold up for the world to see. You believed a picture could stop a war. And perhaps, in a way, it did. Your photograph became a symbol, an icon. It gave a face to the suffering, and it forced a world that had looked away to finally look. You did your job, but you learned, in the long years that followed, that a photograph is only a whisper of the truth. It is not the whole story. The whole story is not just the image of a screaming child. It's also the memory of a young soldier sharing his last can of peaches, his laughter echoing for a moment before the silence took him. It's the quiet dignity of an old man mending a fishing net, his hands moving with a rhythm that defied the chaos around him. It's the bitter taste of hot tea shared in a moment of unspoken understanding. It's the surreal beauty of rice paddies seen from a helicopter, a beauty that masks the terror below. A camera can capture a moment of agony, but it cannot capture the long, quiet ache that follows. It can capture a face, but not the universe of memories behind the eyes. It can show the world a fire, but it cannot make them feel the heat or smell the smoke. You spent a lifetime trying to tell the story of the war. But the real story was never in the grand headlines or the famous photographs. It was in the small, forgotten moments, the quiet conversations without words, the unspoken rules of survival, the heavy silence of a jungle patrol. These are the things that cannot be framed, the truths that slip through the cracks of history. And that is all right. You have made peace with that. You have learned that your job was not to tell the whole story, because no one can. Your job was simply to be a witness, to hold the camera steady when your hands were shaking, to see what others could not, and to carry the weight of it, quietly, for all the years that followed. The rain is slowing now. The world outside your window is dark and peaceful. The ghosts are fading. The faces are softening, receding back into the gentle fog of memory. The story is over. There are no more questions to answer tonight. There are no more helicopters in the sky. There is only the silence, the soft, steady hum of the fan, the weight of the blanket on your body. Let the images drift away. Let the sounds of the past become a part of your dreams. You have listened to the whispers of history. Now, it is time for your own story to be quiet. Sleep now. Sleep well.